Uh-oh.
And we are live. My collapsed. We're live. No, it's gone. Oh, you couldn't write this. Oh well, this is the fun of doing live. There you go. We have issues with the laptop, but it's all good. It's all good. So tonight's Ask Karen. This is where I interview some of our members in our groups or hosts or whatever. Normally with the title coach or therapist or healer, because it really doesn't say enough about what they do or who they help. So today's guest is Annette. Annette, share with the audience a little bit about who you are, where you are, and what is it that you do?
Hey everyone, my name is Annette J. I am streaming to you live from Louisiana, Slidell, Louisiana. I am a therapist turned mindset business coach. I help women, especially moms, to identify their divine gifts and convert that gift into a 5 to 7 figure income generating business so that they can leverage the business to support their lives and their legacies.
Awesome.
Yes.
And this is, because so many, and especially when they're mums as well, they're juggling things, it can seem, if from their perspective that's an impossible task, but it's not, right?
It's not at all. It's not. I'm a mom, so I know it's not.
There you go. Yeah, I am too, although I'm coming out the other end now. So one's gone, one's still with me. But yeah, I can remember how hard it can be in the beginning.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But it's absolutely doable. So what made you? What made you want to go into this arena? What's your story?
So technically, as a therapist, we tend to work on mental illness with people, right? And so my thing was, because I know that people can lead normal lives in spite of a diagnosis. Technically, you can find all of us in the DSM book, right? So there's a diagnosis for everybody, but I do know that we can lead a normal life outside of a diagnosis. So that has always been like my focus, to kind of help people to develop their mental wellness as opposed to focusing on mental illness. And so as a therapist, you can only really focus on the mental illness. That's the gist of the profession. But in a coaching capacity, you can focus on mental wellness and helping people to develop strategies to live a normal and lead a normal life, right? And it gives me the opportunity to work with way more people than I could have as a therapist. So being a mindset business coach helps me to pretty much use my same skills that I learned in grad school and everything. However, I'm able to work with a broader audience of people. And I absolutely love working with moms, because I know that we sacrifice ourselves so much for everybody, for spouses, for kids. So we take care of everybody. And a lot of times we don't make it to our own agenda. So, and I see a lot of moms like approaching burnout, just all these things or whatever, especially in the entrepreneurship space, because now you're yielding yourself to something else that's bigger than you, that takes up a lot of your time and everything. So in this entrepreneurship space, we, making sure we take care of moms, the business, all of these things. And I just want to remind moms, like, we have to take care of ourselves first, right? Because we'll put ourselves on a back burner, but we need to take care of ourselves first. Because again, like the old people used to tell us, we can't pour from an empty glass, and we can't. So we have to refill ourselves first, and then give to the business and the children and all the other things that we have to give to.
Oh, I mean, that is just so true. And then because people are giving so much to their kids and so much to their partners, and they can feel like they've got nothing left at the end of the day. It doesn't have to be like that, right?
It does not. It does not. It should not be that way.
No, absolutely. And how have you found? Do you find that this is actually more fulfilling? Because, as you said earlier, as a therapist, it's almost like you're focusing more on the problem as opposed to more the solution. I suppose in this capacity, do you find that you're helping people more so because it's not about the problem, right? It's about taking them to another level.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's not about the problem. It's really about how you think about your situation, right? Because a lot of us have the solutions inside of us, right? We just don't execute it because we don't have the confidence to execute it. And, it's just a lot of different things, right? We don't have like the family support. A lot of my clients are like first generation. Like I was a first generation college grad. I was a first generation entrepreneur. So a lot of them are first generation, which means they've never seen it done before. So sometimes they feel like it's impossible. Sometimes they have like family talking them to like, nobody's done this before, like, so they have to overcome all of that and all the things that we were traditionally taught, like you should go to college and, all these other things. So we have to unlearn a lot of stuff, overcome a lot of stuff. It's just a lot of like mindset work that we have to do.
Yeah.
And I just kind of empower people that it can be done. Like whatever you want to accomplish in life, you can accomplish it.
Oh, and it is so true. But it's interesting
Yes.
you say about the first generation, because again, there's so many things that are put on us that this is what, like you say, this is what you should do. That's the quote unquote normal way of doing things. Go to college or uni, get this piece of paper that says you can hold a lot of stuff in your memory, really.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily equate to a good income, right?
Absolutely not.
Equate to freedom, which is at the end of the day what people want. But I suppose it is just all new. Because the mainstream has sort of conditioned us to believe that this is the way we should do it. And man, it doesn't have to be so hard, right?
It's not. It does not.
Love that. Love that. So okay, so you're it sounds like you're working with mums, but who is your ideal person that you would work with? Where are they at right now?
So my ideal person is definitely a mom, but she's more like a so my avatar is a 6-figure mom. So at this point, they've crossed over into generating the revenue that's comfortable for living, but they still have not experienced living, right? Because one thing that I learned, and even like from myself, and had to break my own self out of the cycle, once we get to a point in business where we've elevated and we're making a lot of money, a lot more money than we've ever made. Because as a person with 2 college degrees, I was working in a field making $40,000 a year, right? So that that's not enough to live off of. That's barely enough to pay bills, right? So then once you get ingrained in a cycle of in a business and you cross over into 6 figures, a lot of times we don't pause ourselves long enough to say, okay, now I'm making the money, let me start living, right? We just get into the hustle of I'm making money, I want to make more money, I want to make more money. And we just keep going like we haven't crossed over into 6 figures, right? So I want those moms too. I get them to pause and be like, now you have the money, you've had a dream life, right? You say you wanted to do these things. Why aren't you doing it? Because now you have more money. Right? Get out of the hustle mode and start enjoying life. You've crossed over into 6 figures. Yeah, we can cross you over into 7 figures, but now we don't want you to work as hard. I want you to implement automated streams of income. Get a team, all these other things, right? Because it's not, again, you still compromising your mental health if you continue to hustle and go and hustle every day, right? It's not about compromising your mental health. Because a lot of times when we get into the entrepreneurship space, and I know I said it, look, I want to go over for the freedom and the finances and XYZ, and we get so caught up behind this laptop that we lose sight of the freedom that we say we left full-time employment to get into entrepreneurship.
I hear it all the time, honestly. Do you not think that comes from, again, the conditioning of you get there, at the end of the day, we're not saying that it's easy even to get to 6 figures. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of prep that goes behind that. However, again, what I see is so many people, because of that, they're addicted to this. And then they lose sight as to why they wanted to build that 6-figure business in the beginning, like you said, to have freedom. And actually they've ended up getting the opposite of freedom. They might be getting the money, but they're a slave to this. And like you said, okay, prove me wrong, right? I don't see anybody that's making above that is doing it by themselves. And again, I think so many people come into that entrepreneurship, they think they've got to do everything themselves.
By themselves,
there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Can you do it? Are there enough hours in the day? You need help. So if you want to scale, you've got to get, like any other successful company, they don't do it by themselves. They delegate to different jobs. But do you not find that can be the sticking point with some, is taking that step to delegate, to take on a team, to so that they can, because you can't scale from that to that with doing everything by yourself. If you want freedom,
it's physically impossible to get beyond the six-figure mark without a team, right? And a lot of times what we tend to think of, and this is what I've been telling my clients for years, right? Stop thinking in terms of I cannot afford to pay a team member, right? And think in terms of how can I afford to pay this team member, right? Because once you change the mindset and how you think about it, then your mind will start calculating ways to afford them, right? So I used an example. If my client was a baker, right, and they were baking cakes, and let's say they were selling cakes for $100 a pop, right? Physically, you can only do
We're having a few technical issues today.
I'm sorry. If you only have the capacity to make 5 cakes a day, that means your business is only generating $500 per day, right? Whereas if you hired somebody, right, and you make 5 cakes and they make 5 cakes a day, that's your business generating $1,000 a day, right? But if you only paying that person, let's say $10 an hour, right, and they work 10 hours a day or whatever, you're paying them $100 a day, right? But you've made $500 off of them. That means you pay them $100. Your business has an extra $400. Now you're working with $900 in your business per day, right? So you have more than enough to pay that person, and that person is making enough for you to put back into your business. That's how you have to start thinking about adding team members, right? Because it's really not deducting from your business. It's really allowing your business to make more money. That's what it's called scaling, right? You're not going to put out more than they bring in.
But what do you think is where do you think this fear is coming from? I mean, and I get it because I've been through it myself, but a lot of people, what do you think is the one thing that's stopping them going from that safety net to break through? Because, you know that you're going to go above and beyond, but there's still this fear going on to like, oh, you know, I don't know, I'm responsible for this other person if they've never employed anybody before, and no, it's gonna work out in the end, but there's still something that's keeping them stuck.
Well, the thing that's keeping them stuck is they feel like, hey, I don't have the money to pay this person. So until they start thinking differently about how they're going to pay that person and how that person ultimately is going to cover their own salary, right? And then start thinking like a CEO, like it's my responsibility as the CEO to bring revenue into this business. So I'm gonna get out, I'm gonna market, I'm gonna bring the business in so I can make sure I have the work for this person to do to cover their salary. Now we're starting to talk a different conversation because I'm thinking different, which means I'm operating differently, right? And I have enough to bring into the business to keep the business sustained and to keep that person's payroll or that person's salary covered.
Perfect. What you just said right there is we come into this, there's this transition, right? Going from employee to business owner. And then it's going from that entrepreneur business owner to a CEO. And the CEO doesn't do everything. And that for me really is the thing, because otherwise there's so many people out there and they're doing it. Maybe they're not even at 6 figures. They're just trying to hustle and they're trying to work for themselves, but actually they've just bought themselves a job without any of the perks.
Yep.
Right,
you go from working a 9 to 5 to all day every day.
And on a weekend.
Yes.
But so anybody out there listening then, be brave enough to step out. So come talk to Annette to take you to the next level, because that's where the freedom comes from. We know that, like, you know, we know it takes time, right? It takes time to build a business. It's gonna, if you've gone from a 9 to 5, expect to be, you know, it's gonna be a 9 till 10 in the beginning. You've got to put the work in, right, in the beginning. But as long as you realize that that's just the transition and it's not going to stay that way. Then when you're ready to go to that next level, that's where the freedom lies, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So for the listeners out there, how do they find you, Annette? Because I haven't got your website underneath. We'll have it in the writing below, but how do they get in touch with you?
So on Facebook and Instagram, I'm Annette J Morris, MA. My website, www.AnnetteJMorris.com, or my business website is www.goal, GOAL, getter, GETTER, forever.com.
Awesome. Fantastic. Oh dear. So, for the rest of the listeners, people in the group, these short interviews are also to add a bit of training because, as you know, some people, they're working behind their computers, they're working on their own, they're having the same questions, but they've got no one to ask. So do you have any question that maybe you had right at the beginning, or that you find that a lot of your clients are having the same question that might help people?
So technically, like a lot of my clients come to me because they know that I teach like multiple streams of income and how to diversify the funding in your business. So technically, the question is like, how do I make more money? Because when you go into business, you think most people are thinking like one track. Again, I'm gonna use a baker because I like cakes. They're thinking, hey, I'm gonna bake cakes, I'm gonna bake muffins, whatever it is, right? And they can't think outside of like, how do I make more money in doing this, right? So I teach them different ways to generate revenue in their business. Some streams on automation, so they're not working time, effortlessly and tirelessly, but generating revenue on a consistent basis.
Yeah, sure. So because you've got to switch from trading time for money. So if your business is the time for money, then you get to a certain point. If there's only so many clients you can take on, you've got to look at other revenue sources to bring it in. And, unfortunately, the saying is true, money makes money.
So, yeah, that's true.
It's very difficult when you're starting out because you've only got so much coming in. What else can you invest in other things? But so what I'm hearing from what you're saying there is when you get to that level, now it's time to diversify and look at what options. And it doesn't have to be right. It doesn't have to be totally outside of your field. There could be lots of other things. If you're a coach in a specific niche, there could be other affiliate programs. There could be other investments that you can make that are still going to be in alignment with your values.
Absolutely.
You don't have to go outside of that. But yeah, that is the truth. Money makes money. So you need to get yourself into a position where you can diversify. And yeah, I love that. Think outside the box. There are other things that you can do. And yeah, it is going to be automation for a lot of people. If they're doing just one-to-one, okay, how can you turn this into group? So much software out there. I mean, we live in a world now. There's so many tools and things out there that can help save us time. But we got to get to a next level. So that's
absolutely
awesome.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Well, lovely to have met you. I love it. My job is trying to get people to the 6 figures. So Annette is the person to go to get you from 6 to 7. Because this is the thing. There are, the strategies and the processes that you're going to use to get from 0 to even multiple 5 figures and then 6 figures are going to be completely different to what's going to take you from 6 to 7.
Yep, absolutely.
And it doesn't have to be scary. It's just sort of evolving.
Yeah,
so wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. So anybody want to get in touch with Annette, if you're ready to go, come on, smash through that glass ceiling, because it is just a glass ceiling. It's a ceiling that you actually put there yourself.
Yes, absolutely.